Hi, this is Marshall at Mountain Air Roasting. We're going to brew some coffee today. So the Nilson Lopez is a microlot from a single farmer. He processed it with a honey process, which means that the skin got removed from the coffee before drying it, but left some fruit on, and the fruit sticks to the coffee seed and adds a little bit of sweetness and a different character to the cup. It's usually a little bit more chocolatey notes, more heavy body. A lot of the sweetness from the fruit gets into the coffee. What's interesting is there's not quite as much acidity as coffee where they remove all of the fruit before drying the coffee. So this is a honey process, and it's good, easy drinking coffee. So this is the coffee here. Looks really good. It's a nice light roast. There's no scorching or tipping. It's real even in color. Still has some nice texture. You can look carefully at the seed. It's opened up enough to let you know that it's a fully roasted coffee. It's not all tight. Got more like this. Nice open crack there. It's a good coffee roast. So you see that's a nice light roast. All the creases in the coffee they're open, which means that the heat got in there and allowed the coffee to be soluble so that the flavor can get into your cup. You'll notice there's no weird burnt edges. The tips of them are the exact same color as the rest. It's a good even color. There's also some nice texture to the coffee, so you know it hasn't been in the roaster for too long. And that always, to me, equates to a cup that's going to still be sweet and flavorful and nuanced. When I roasted this coffee, what I was looking for was a really good, even development, and one that doesn't leave any roasty or ashy notes, anything that kind of like disturbs the clarity of the cup. I like to be able to taste the fruit, taste the coffee, and not taste what it is that I've done to the coffee. I don't want to taste the roast. I don't want to taste any ashy notes. I also want to taste that it is roasted, that it is a fully developed coffee, and all the sweetness that it has is able to get into the cup. So I'm going to weigh out about 20 grams. So we use this EK43 grinder. It's a big, it's expensive grinder. It's not something you usually have at home. But for tasting our coffee and making sure that the work that we're doing is what we want to be selling, it gives us a really clear view into what the coffee tastes like. There's no broad grind distribution like a whirly blade grinder might have. The grinds are pretty evenly sized. There's still some fines. There's some that are a little bit bigger than optimum, but mostly the coffee's all ground super even, so we get to do a really even extraction, and we get a good view into what the cup is supposed to taste like. EK43 at the shop, it's got a really nice even grind, so we got a good even extraction, and we'll just turn it on, send the coffee through. Sends on down. I've got it set kind of a medium coarse right here. This is a Hario V60 brewer. It's just a cheap plastic one. I like those because they act as insulators, keep your coffee hot while you're brewing it. And they've got good little filters. Gets all the grit and grime from getting in your cup. I prefer paper filtered coffee. And yeah, you can just do one at a time, one cup. As you enjoy your coffee, you brew what you need. So I'm going to add about 18 grams of coffee in here. That's enough for a good sized cup. And that's good. So after putting the coffee into the filter, I like to give it a little shake, level the bed, get nice and level so that the water comes down through it evenly instead of from all angles and missing some of the coffee. When we got all the coffee nice and wet, and we want all of it to have an equal opportunity for getting fully extracted. So I like using these gooseneck kettles. They pour nice and evenly. They've got a handle. Their weight is well proportioned. It's easy to control the pour, both slow and fast pours. And I like to get the water about as hot as possible. Water boils here at about 208. And that would be fine, just taking the water to the boil, pretty much anywhere you live. It's consistent, you don't have to worry about it, just boil the water. So here's my basic coffee setup. I've got a good gram scale, little stopwatch, some scales have that built in, and I've got my coffee up here, pouring right into the decanter. And so what I'll do is I'll start the stopwatch, and I go ahead and I pour about 50-ish grams with a bit of movement. And I'll swirl it around just to make sure everything's wet. Not too much agitation, just enough to make sure that the coffee is fully saturated. And then we let it sit, and you'll notice some bubbles come up. And that's CO2 that's trapped inside the coffee from the roasting process. And as long as there's CO2 coming out of the coffee, it's gonna be really hard to get water into the coffee and to get the coffee flavor out and into your cup. So what we like to do is give it some time. And it's been about 30 seconds. We're gonna go to 1.5 minutes. We're coming up on about 1.5 minutes. And I like to bring the water up to about 100 grams poured. And just try to evenly knock down the grounds, let the water come out. Doesn't need to be perfect, but close enough is good enough. And then what I'll do is on the minute, every minute, I'll add about 100 grams of water, and until we get to 300 grams. And the brew time, I like it to be at least 3 minutes total, and about up to 5 minutes is good for a good complete extraction. So at 2 minutes, I'll bring the water up to about 200 grams. Try pour gently from this point on so that I'm not disturbing the grounds, I'm not causing the little tiny fine particles that are in the coffee from getting stuck to the filter. So we're at about 3 minutes, and I'm going to go ahead and put the last pour on, and it's going to go all the way up to about 300. I'm trying to pour gently, slowly, not disturbing the grounds. And it doesn't need to be perfect. It's been about 4.5 minutes. Come to a finish, drip out the rest, and it's ready to taste. So I like brewing smaller cups. That way they go through the temperature from the hot cup down to the cool cup a lot quicker, and it's a little bit easier to enjoy the full complexity of the cup, everything it has to offer. I like to brew smaller amounts. If I need more coffee, I'll brew more coffee, and I get another fresh cup after that. So the cup has cooled down a little bit. That's really good. It's a very sweet cup. A lot of the fruit flavors are in there. They're not in my face. I like that. I like that they're delicate, but they're present. The body is full. It's round. It doesn't have any like hollow spots in it. It's just it's kind of a mouth-filling cup. This is really where the cup gets good. Get to about 250 grams. I always like to put in at least, that's about what we typically put into a bag. About 250 grams, and we always make sure it's a little more, never less. And that's how we get in there. Use a little beanbag filler and shake it on down. And send it your way. I hope you enjoy it. Nilson Lopez honey process from Narino, Colombia. It's really good.